There's a moment in life that doesn't look like a breakdown. It looks like nothing at all. No tears, no yelling, no visible pain, just silence. A kind of silence that hums in the background of your chest where feelings used to live. You wake up and the world looks gray. Not sad, not terrible, just muted. Coffee tastes the same. Music doesn't hit the way it used to. And laughter feels like something you're watching through glass. You tell yourself you're fine because technically you are. You're functioning. You're showing up. You're smiling when you should. But somewhere deep down, you know something's gone missing. That's what emotional numbness feels like. It's not the presence of sadness. It's the absence of everything. Psychologists describe emotional numbness as a defense mechanism, a kind of psychological shutdown that happens when the system is overloaded. It's what the brain does when it's been hurt too many times, felt too deeply, or held too much for too long. It's like when a circuit overheats, the power cuts off, not to punish the system, but to protect it from burning out completely. And yet, the cruel irony is that protection can start to feel like a prison, because once you've disconnected from pain, you've also disconnected from joy. The wall you built to stop the storms also blocks the sunlight. I remember someone once described it perfectly. They said, "It's not that I don't want to feel, it's that I forgot how." And that's the hidden tragedy of emotional numbness. It's not the loss of happiness, it's the loss of aliveness. If you've ever felt that way, like you're existing more than you're living, you're not broken, you're in self-preservation mode. See, the human mind is wired for emotional regulation. It's constantly trying to keep you safe. When emotions become too overwhelming, too intense, too prolonged, your brain quietly steps in and turns down the volume. It's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to help you survive. But that survival mode comes with a cost. Because when you stay in it for too long, you start to lose access to the very things that make you human. Empathy, passion, and even love. There's a theory in psychology called emotional blunting, often linked to chronic stress, trauma, or depression. It's not always visible on the outside. Sometimes the people who are the calmest, the most composed, are the ones who've shut down the hardest. They've learned that emotions make them vulnerable. So they built a fortress, and they've lived in that fortress for so long, they've started mistaking it for peace. The truth, numbness is not peace. It's quiet pain. Pain that learned to disguise itself. People who've become emotionally numb often don't even realize it at first. It creeps in gradually. They stop getting excited about the things they used to love. They stop crying when something sad happens. Not because they're strong, but because the emotional faucet has rusted shut. They start to say things like, "I don't care anymore." Not out of apathy, but exhaustion. Underneath that numbness is usually a story of overextension, of heartbreak, of emotional labor gone unnoticed. It's the mother who kept everyone else together for years until she stopped recognizing herself. It's the man who's been strong for too long, holding in everything because he was taught to never fall apart. It's the friend who always listens but never speaks. And it's the child who grew up in chaos and learned that feelings only lead to pain. Eventually, the body learns a cruel lesson. If feeling equals danger, then not feeling equals safety. And so, it adapts. But here's the thing. Adaptation isn't healing. It's survival. And survival isn't the same as living. Most emotionally numb people didn't choose this state. They were forced into it by repetition, by the same disappointments, the same emotional betrayals, the same fatigue that taught them that caring too much hurts too much. So they stop feeling not out of weakness, but out of wisdom that's turned heavy. Because what's the point of opening up again if every time you do something breaks? But here's where psychology meets hope. Neuroscience tells us that the brain isn't static. It's malleable, plastic, flexible, capable of renewal. The same brain that learned to shut down can learn to open up again. Emotional numbness isn't a permanent sentence. It's a temporary pause. A signal that your nervous system needs rest before it can feel again. And that rest often looks like stillness. But it's not the kind that restores you overnight. It's slow, it's gentle, it's uncomfortable. Because reawakening emotion after numbness feels like thawing after being frozen. It aches, it tingles. It's both relief and pain at the same time. You start to notice small things again, like the way sunlight hits your desk in the morning, or how a song suddenly stirs something faint but real in your chest. And those moments, as fragile as they are proof that you're coming back to life. But to reach that point, you first have to face an uncomfortable truth. Emotional numbness is not the absence of emotion. It's the suppression of it. And everything suppressed eventually surfaces. When you stop running from your emotions, you start remembering who you were before you became tired, before you became careful, before you started mistaking numbness for strength. Because emotional numbness at its core isn't a flaw, it's a scar. It's the mark left by battles fought in silence. If you peel it back gently without judgment, without rushing yourself, you'll often find deep sensitivity underneath. The kind of person who feels everything but learned to hide it because the world kept saying, "You're too much." In fact, research shows that people who describe themselves as emotionally numb often score higher in empathy once they begin to reconnect. They aren't cold, they're sensitive souls who've gone into hiding. And maybe that's the real paradox here. The most emotionally numb people are often the ones who once felt the most deeply. They were the ones who noticed everything, who remembered every word, every tone, every unspoken change in someone's eyes. They were built to connect, but connection became the source of their pain. So they shut the door, not forever, just until it felt safe to open it again. But time alone doesn't heal numbness, because numbness isn't time-based. It's trust-based. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel again. You rebuild safety moment by moment until your heart finally believes that it's okay to come out. And that's what most people misunderstand. They think emotionally numb people are heartless, cold, detached. But the truth is, they're simply scared. Scared of being flooded, scared of losing control, scared of feeling everything all at once after feeling nothing for so long. The key isn't to force them to feel. It's to give them permission to feel without judgment, without demand. Because numbness melts in the presence of safety. Not pressure, not confrontation. Just gentle, consistent safety. If you've been living in that state, please hear this. You're not weak for going numb. You were trying to protect yourself in the only way you knew how. But your story doesn't have to end in emotional silence. Somewhere inside, the part of you that once laughed too hard, cried too easily, and loved too deeply, it's still there. It's waiting for you to knock on its door again. And maybe the first knock isn't grand. Maybe it's just a small whisper. I miss feeling alive. Sometimes people think numbness fades when life finally gets better. When the chaos ends. When the job stabilizes. When the heartbreak heals. But that's not how it works. Because numbness doesn't come from the chaos itself. It comes from the aftermath. It's not the storm that silences you. It's the quiet after the storm. When you look around and realize everything's changed, and somehow so have you. In that silence, your body still remembers. Your nervous system still scans for danger even when there's none left. That's the strange thing about emotional numbness. It's not a lack of emotion. It's a state of constant emotional protection. You're not empty. You're just guarding the last fragments of your energy. Modern psychology calls it emotional avoidance. It's when the mind associates feeling with pain so strongly that it begins to disconnect preemptively. The result? You become calm on the outside but restless on the inside. You laugh at the right moments. You nod at the right times. But it feels more like performance than participation. You begin to act alive rather than feel alive. And at some point that becomes your identity. You start telling yourself, maybe this is just who I am now. But it isn't. It's who you became to survive. The truth is, emotional numbness often hides a story of overwhelm, years of overstimulation, emotional responsibility, or quiet heartbreak that was never given the space to be processed. For many people, it's rooted in the idea that emotions are dangerous, inconvenient, or even shameful. Maybe they were told, stop crying. Maybe they learned that expressing fear or sadness only made things worse. So the body adapted. It muted what couldn't be understood. There's something deeply human about that because deep down we all want to avoid pain. We distract ourselves with work, with screens, with endless scrolling. We say we're busy, but what we often mean is, I don't want to feel right now. But feelings don't disappear when ignored. They wait. They gather quietly, layer upon layer, until numbness becomes the only thing left you can feel without breaking. And yet, this state, as lifeless as it feels, is not the end. It's a pause between who you were and who you're becoming. The psychology behind recovery from emotional numbness is both fascinating and hopeful. Studies in effective neuroscience suggest that emotions are like signals, energy in motion, designed to guide us. When we suppress them, the energy doesn't vanish. It gets stored in the body. That's why numbness often comes with physical symptoms: fatigue, disconnection, brain fog, even aches. Your body isn't betraying you, it's whispering, I still remember. And healing begins when you start listening again. Not perfectly, not all at once, but slowly, softly, without forcing it. You start by noticing. You notice the moments when you want to shut down, when a song stirs something unfamiliar, when a memory flickers and you quickly distract yourself. Those are the doors back into feeling. They're not threats, they're invitations. One of the most powerful things you can do in that state is to relearn safety. Because emotional numbness isn't cured by chasing big feelings. It's healed by restoring small moments of safety consistently. When the body feels safe again, the emotions start returning on their own. That's why mindfulness, therapy, and grounding techniques are so effective. They don't force emotions. They build trust with the nervous system. You're teaching yourself that it's okay to feel again, that you're not in danger anymore. Because numbness is the body's way of saying, I don't trust that I can survive another emotional hit. And healing is the process of proving that you can. But this healing isn't linear. There are days you'll feel a spark, and days you'll go numb again. And both are okay because emotional numbness doesn't disappear in one grand moment of clarity. It dissolves in fragments, in micro moments of connection. The first genuine laugh you've had in months. The first tear that doesn't scare you. The first time you say, I'm not okay. And someone simply listens. In those moments, something inside you begins to fall. Not because the world became easier, but because you stopped pretending it was. It's also important to understand the subtle forms numbness can take. Sometimes it shows up as irritability, sometimes as apathy, sometimes as constant distraction. For some, it's perfectionism, the need to control every detail to avoid emotional uncertainty. For others, it's withdrawal, the quiet disappearing act of someone who's tired of explaining what's wrong when they can't even name it. Underneath all of it is the same silent plea. I just want to feel safe again. And maybe that's where the real work begins. Not in trying to fix yourself, but in learning to be gentle with yourself. Because numbness isn't healed by intensity, it's healed by consistency. Small daily acts that remind your mind and body that you're allowed to exist without defending yourself all the time. Take a walk without headphones. Let a song hit you without skipping it. Watch a sunset and resist the urge to take a picture. It sounds simple, maybe even cliché, but those are the acts that rebuild emotional presence. Because numbness can't survive where awareness grows. And somewhere in that process, something shifts. You begin to notice the texture of life again. The warmth of light, the sound of laughter, the subtle ache of nostalgia. It's fragile, yes, but it's real. And real always wins over perfect. That's something psychology can't fully explain. The exact moment when a person stops being a spectator of their own life and becomes a participant again. It's not measurable, but you can feel it. It's when the world stops being something you endure and starts being something you belong to. But even then, the goal isn't to feel happy all the time. The goal is to feel honest, because emotional numbness often comes from the pressure to always be okay, to always appear strong, grateful, composed. Healing begins when you allow the full spectrum of emotion, joy, sadness, confusion, love, without labeling any of it as wrong. That's what emotional maturity truly is. The ability to sit with what is without needing to escape it. So if you've been living numb for a while, maybe it's time to redefine what healing looks like. It's not about going back to who you were. It's about becoming someone who can hold more emotion, more life, more truth. Someone who isn't afraid of their own depth anymore. Because you don't actually need to find your feelings again. They never left. They've been waiting for you beneath the noise, beneath the self-defense, beneath the years of pretending you didn't care. And maybe this time, instead of rushing to feel better, you can just let yourself be confused, messy, uncertain, but real. Because numbness thrives in suppression, but it fades in authenticity. That's the paradox of healing. The moment you stop trying so hard to feel, the feelings start to return. Not as waves that drown you, but as rivers that carry you home. There's a beautiful term in psychology, re-engagement. It means slowly rejoining life after emotional withdrawal. It's when you start making eye contact again, when laughter feels less forced, when your reflection looks like someone you recognize. And maybe that's where your story is heading. Not toward perfection, but toward re-engagement, toward life, messy and magnificent as it is. You might not notice the change immediately, for it does not arrive with fanfare or a dramatic declaration. The transformation is a quiet one, happening in the hidden spaces of your being, in the small, unclaimed moments you barely register. It's in the way you find yourself pausing to watch a bird on a branch, truly watching it, noticing the delicate shift of its weight and the tilt of its head, and feeling a flicker of something other than observation. A faint, distant cousin of wonder. It's in the way you taste your food one afternoon, not just consuming it for fuel, but actually registering the sweetness of a tomato or the earthy richness of bread. And for a split second, the act of eating is not a chore, but an experience. These are the whispers of your return, the almost imperceptible cracks in the ice. Then, one utterly ordinary day, while you're waiting for a bus or staring out a window or simply tying your shoes, it happens without warning. You catch yourself smiling, and the most profound thing about it is that it is for no reason at all. It is not a reaction to a joke or a pleasant memory. It is a spontaneous emergence from within, a small, quiet bloom of warmth that has chosen to reveal itself. You'll feel the warmth of it, a gentle, spreading glow that starts deep in your chest and radiates outward, softening your shoulders, easing the line of your jaw. It feels quiet and certain, a sensation that belongs entirely to you, unforced and unasked for. It is not a grand happiness, but something more foundational, more essential. A simple, unadulterated moment of feeling. And in that moment, standing there with this inexplicable smile on your face, a profound realization will dawn on you. The numbness didn't just disappear, as if it were a stain that was washed away. You outgrew it. You grew around it, the way a tree grows around an old, forgotten fence post, enveloping it, making it a part of its history, but no longer allowing it to dictate its growth. The protective shell you built, which once felt like a fortress, now feels like a childhood garment you've simply grown too large for. It no longer fits the person you have slowly, patiently become. Because somewhere along the way, in the gentle, cumulative practice of showing up for yourself, in the small acts of kindness you offered your own weary heart, you stopped needing that rigid protection from your own heart. You began to understand that the heart is not a bomb that will detonate if felt too fully, but a resilient, pulsing center of your aliveness. You stopped seeing emotion as a weakness, a liability, a messy inconvenience to be suppressed and controlled. You started instead to see it as proof, tangible, physical proof, that you are still here, that you are still capable of responding to the world, that you are, against everything, still undeniably alive. You realize that the capacity to feel sadness is the very same capacity that allows you to feel joy. They are two different songs played on the same instrument, and to silence one is to silence the other. And this quiet, unassuming rediscovery of feeling, this gradual return to the sensory world, this willingness to be touched by life once more, this is one of the most profound and courageous forms of healing a human being can ever experience. It is not the healing of a broken bone, which mends to be stronger than before. but the healing of a frozen limb, which regains its feeling with a painful, thrilling, and utterly necessary ache. It is the return to your own humanity, with all its glorious, terrifying, and beautiful sensitivities. So don't rush it. Do not stand over your soul demanding a timeline for its bloom. Don't force it. Do not try to pry yourself open like a stubborn oyster. The pearl inside is formed by layers of gentle, patient secretion, not by violent force. Just keep living. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, even quietly, in a way that feels small and insignificant. Even clumsily, stumbling through days that feel like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Do the small things. Make the tea. Take the walk. Breathe the air. Read the book. Sit in the sun, even if you feel nothing at first. The act of showing up is itself a form of prayer, a signal to your deepest self that you are still waiting, still willing, still here. And then, one day, you will simply wake up. The light through the window will look different, not because the sun has changed, but because the eyes receiving it have. You will take a breath and realize that the silence inside you, the hollow, humming silence that once felt like your only companion, has been subtly, irrevocably replaced. It has been replaced by something softer, a gentle hum of presence instead of absence. It has been replaced by something warm, a low, steady ember of being where there was once only cold void. It has been replaced by something alive, something that stirs and shifts and responds to the world, something that feels, once again, like you.